You all please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have our agenda to approve. Do I have a motion to approve our agenda? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, first up, we have our consent agenda, which meeting minutes from our November general meeting. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, recognitions. Dr. Frazier.
Good afternoon, board members and staff and community members. I do have several recognitions today. We will start with December 2nd. We recognize Special Education Day. December 4th through 8th, we celebrated Computer Science Education Week. This month, we also want to recognize our One Act as they earned second place in the state competition. So congratulations to Ms. Hammond and to the entire cast and crew of our One Act performance. Can we give them a round of applause? We also want to recognize our staff and our students who have been performing in our holiday performances. We've had grades 3, 4, and 5 who did a great job under the direction of Ms. Shannon. Their concert was last week. We've had our theater students perform, and they performed for our elementary students, and they were under the direction of Ms. Carey. Last night, we held our winter band concert, and that was under the direction of Ms. Thompson. And tonight, we will have our middle school, high school chorus concert, and that will be under the direction of Ms. Ray. Can we give all of those performers a round of applause? I also want to commend our staff and our students and our community members for the excellent rollout that we've had with weapon detection. We have been keeping the safety of our students and staff and community members at the forefront. And so we rolled weapon detection out, then there was an incident, and we pivoted and we rolled it out even sooner for after-school activities. And so everyone has been on board, everything has gone well, and so I am pleased with that. I have another recognition. I'd like to recognize our middle school staff. We have just learned that our middle school has been redesignated as a school to watch. So we are happy and excited for the hard work and the dedication of our students and our staff at the middle school level. It means something to be a school to watch. That means that others around us are watching what we do. And so we are proud of all of the hard work of our administrators, our teachers, our staff, and our students. At this time, I would ask that our principals come to the podium so we can recognize our students of the month. And we will start with our elementary student of the month.
So in the elementary school, our student of the month this month is a first grader, Noah Rios. Noah's teachers report that Noah is thoughtful and cares for his teachers and peers. He pays attention to the feelings of others and cares about doing things to make them feel better. Noah is respectful and shows up with a smile, eager to do his best every day.
And our middle school student of the month is Charlotte Johnson. She's a 7th grader. Charlotte is always sweet, follows all rules and directions, often stays after class to assist in preparing for the next class. And I will say that when I first did my first week with students, Charlotte was the first student to walk up, introduce herself, check on me every day. She's just precious. So we're proud to recognize Charlotte. And our high school student of the month is Taz Ray. And we all know him. He's great, a great athlete, a great student. He's described as helpful, kind, hardworking, respectful, and we just appreciate his contributions to the high school, both academically and athletically.
Can we give a round of applause for our And now we have some special recognitions. Each year, we select staff to be recognized as support staff and as the teacher of the year. So at this time, I will ask Ms. Britt to announce her support staff of the year.
In the elementary school, we are excited to announce that our support staff of the year is Jennifer Kirkland. Ms. Kirkland's dedication and pride in her custodial and maintenance duties are truly commendable. She possesses a unique connection with our building, demonstrating an intuitive sense for identifying issues or tasks that require attention, often addressing them before being asked. It's as if there are three of her, as she tirelessly works around every corner of our facility. Ms. Kirkland exemplifies the C&E's building philosophy, whether it's driving buses, preparing for events, solving problems, or offering unwavering support to our students and staff. She goes above and beyond in every aspect. Her versatility and commitment make her an invaluable asset to our school. Congratulations, Ms. Kirkland, for earning this well-deserved recognition as our support staff of the year.
All right, and Ms. Bird will now announce her support staff.
Is that better? Okay. So our support staff of the year has been with us for 26 years, I believe. Mr. Melvin Banks. Mr. Melvin. Mr. Melvin, and that's what I call him. I don't know. I didn't know his last name was Banks until today to He is dedicated, faithful, thorough, exceptional. And one of the ways that we have described him, he is a quiet force. You always know he's there, but he's always calm, quiet, collected, and you just feel better knowing that he's there. Not to mention the excellent work taking care of our buildings, our staff, and students. So, Mr. Melvin, thank you so much for 26 years.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Ms. Britt will announce her teacher of the year.
So I'm delighted to present our West Point Elementary School Teacher of the Year. This person is an educator who has dedicated around 19 years to the noble profession of teaching at West Point. With a steadfast commitment to fostering a consistent and structured learning environment, she tirelessly works to meet the unique needs of each student under her guidance. As a leader within her grade, she serves as the team lead, actively participating in discussions with all stakeholders to contribute to the continuous improvement of educational practices at WPES. The selection process for Teacher of the Year was no easy feat, given the outstanding nominations we received. However, the votes are in, and we are proud to announce that this year's recipient is Chrissy Vanderbilt.
I'm very excited to announce our middle and high school teacher of the year, who we tried to perform some trickery today to make sure he got here. But we would like to announce our teacher of the year is Mr. Michael Cole. Mr. Cole has been with West Point since 2019, and I will say teachers and staff alike and students have nothing but praises. Our students love Mr. Cole for making math fun, making math understandable, which is a great feat accomplished. I have come to appreciate his leadership. He heads up our math department. Let him smile some more. He heads up our math department. He sits on the teacher leadership team. He advocates for students. He advocates for staff. His wisdom and experience have been invaluable to the middle and high school. So we really appreciate everything that he brings to the table, and we're so excited to have him represent us as our teacher of the year.
And so, one of the most difficult tasks in this process is to then decide who the division teacher of the year will be and who the division support staff of the year will be. When we have amazing staff across this division, it makes this task just super difficult. But I would like to announce that the 23-24 West Point Public Schools support staff of the year is Mr. Melvin Mills. And the 23-24 teacher of the year is Mr. Michael Wolf. We so appreciate the dedication of all of our staff, and so thank you to all of our winners. Thank you for everything that you do on a daily basis to make sure our school division runs effectively and efficiently, and also to make sure that our students get the best education around. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you. I gotta go now. Thank y'all so much.
Mr. Chairman, that ends our recognition.
Okay, thanks, Don. So yeah, I would say Ms. Kirkland, Mr. Banks, who left us, Ms. Van Road, Mr. Cole, just super recognition. You know, we pride ourselves on great teachers and staff, and so I think to be recognized by your peers with everyone that's around you, I think it's just a great accomplishment. And thank you for all that you do. So congratulations. All right, next up, it's the most wonderful time of the year, right? Getting into budget season. So this is the annual meeting where we listen to your all's presentations about what we think we need for next year and beyond. So it's that time of year. I think we welcome your input. We're thankful that you give us that feedback, and also that you understand the delicate cycle, I guess you can say, with our funding mechanism with the town and everything that goes into it. But looking forward to your advisory committee's presentation on the budget request. So, all right.
Our committee can come forward.
My name is Allison Bolt. First, we would like to just welcome you and thank you for having us today and giving your time to us. All right, we will be going over the budget survey results from our staff with all of you today. Each school sent out a survey to staff members requesting feedback in the following categories: compensation and benefits, staffing, technology, resources and equipment, facilities and maintenance, and professional learning. There were a total of 37 responses across the division, with 15 responses from the middle high school staff and 22 responses from, I'm sorry, I messed that up. 15 responses from the elementary and 22 responses from the middle high school staff.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jenny Winter. I'm the secretary at the elementary school, and I'm going to be discussing the compensation and benefits that the staff requested by a survey that came through. 3% salary increase, that they are held harmless of any rising healthcare costs, to review and increase stipend positions, and to pay for class coverage. The next slide is staffing. Consider additional staffing in these areas: special ed staff, vision wide gifted teacher, a CTE teacher, an EL teacher, a science teacher, to continue to support both buildings with full-time substitute positions and provide more teacher assistants and interventionists as needed.
For the resources, beginning next school year, the VDOE will be implementing a new reading program that will support school divisions by providing the resources and funding needed to further enhance literacy instruction. And we appreciate your support as we continue to learn more about this new program. Some participants also see a need for updated textbooks and instructional materials that will support new curriculum and standards put forth by the state.
Good afternoon, I'm Phil Fraser, interventionist here at High School Liverpool. With technology, we said that we would like to continue to support online subscriptions for teachers, updates to your laptops, and charging stations, and still continue to provide additional assistive technology to support students.
Hello, I'm Dr. Tamara Nichols. I am the 504 coordinator as well as the speech language pathologist for the division. And professional learning, we acknowledge how important professional learning is, and we appreciate all of the support that you all have given us in the past. But as a staff and faculty, we request increase in tuition assistance from $600 per year. And we're also requesting additional assistance for staff to attend conferences.
A little known fact, it's not gonna work without a Republican.
Okay, I have the facilities and maintenance part, and my name is Nate Bradley. I teach world geography and histories here. Also the resident superhero. So I got this part right here. Let's take a first mistake in this part. What we want to do is we want to improve the athletic facilities. That means modified weight room. We also have on this list in the future, not now, but a new gym facility. And I was promised it would be named after me, so. And we want to continue with the preventative maintenance in all the buildings, fix the roof so we don't have to put buckets on the floor to catch the rain when it comes out, and new lighting throughout the division.
And lastly, lastly, we just want to thank you for so many things, but here are just a few. Thank you for adjusting the pay scale each year while also maintaining all current staff positions. In addition, you all continue to consider additional staffing needs throughout the division, which we appreciate. The one-to-one Chromebook initiative makes implementing technology in our classrooms much easier for both the students and the teachers. Also, for the increase in safety measures, we appreciate the addition of security officers and school resource officers across the division, as well as the new weapons detection system that's recently been installed in the middle high school. Also, for adjusting the school calendar, we have all heard a lot of positive feedback about our school calendar this year with a few additional days off around the Thanksgiving holiday. That was much appreciated. And on behalf of the teachers and staff, we all just want to say thank you again for all that you do to support not only our school community, but also the students and the parents and the West Point community as a whole. So thank you so much.
Thank you all to the committee and to everyone who's participated. I think we're thankful for Dr. Frazier and his team's leadership around our budget. We've always been responsible from a fiscal standpoint. So now is when we have to take all this into consideration and trust the process we have with our town leaders to figure out what we need and what we can give, now what we want, and just to continue to lead our vision in the right direction. So thank you all, really appreciate it.
Are there more like specifics on some of these things, or is this?
No, so there is the actual survey, and we will be going over that survey when we get into our budget work session.
Like we had last year? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So this process kicks off budget season, when the staff can come and they can share what they're working for. And we will go over this something on our budget work session.
Where's the safety?
I was gonna say, more than welcome to stick around. But totally understand. Been here all day, we get it.
However, we do appreciate all of you.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you.
Merry
too,
Christmas,
so
everybody.
Enjoy the holidays, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next we have our All in Virginia presentation.
Yes, and so Ms. Bird and Ms. Brick will come. Dr. Hauser was unavailable to be here today, but Ms. Bird and Ms. Brick will come and present on our All in Virginia.
So all in, the main components, as you know, this is something that is rolled down from the state. The A stands for attendance, the L stands for literacy, and the other L stands for learning. And so the high intensity tutoring falls under the learning component. The Virginia Literacy Act is under the literacy component, and then of course we're focused on our school attendance. It takes a lot of people, or will take a lot of people, to make this All in Virginia happen, from work from the teacher, tutors, to students and parents, to the administration that are listed on the slide. We also like to welcome back, we're excited to have back Kate Upshaw, who was our former elementary school reading specialist, who has agreed to serve as our lead instructional coach in this new venture.
Okay, so high intensity tutoring, what it's going to look like is 45-minute sessions, 3 afternoons a week. At the high school, middle school level, it will be during the 8th period. The elementary, it will be during the afternoon academy. We're going to run 3 sessions. We were given leeway by the state of Virginia as how we wanted to separate this. So our first session will start after the holidays, January 16th, and will run up until spring break. And then we will do a 60-hour summer session, and we haven't hashed out the details because we really want to see what this first session looks like what scores end up look like, so we'll move from there, and then we'll run another fall session, because there were requirements as to the number of hours that the state required for us across the board. So that's how we're gonna fill our hours, divided into sessions. So again, time with tutors, and we'll go over what tutors look like and what the structure looks like here in a minute. So you can see by the times, we're just gonna run these concurrently with the programs that we already have in existence. And we were very lucky in that we already have an 8th period and an after-school academy, whereas a lot of school divisions are really struggling with how do we create this time within our schedule. And we have that time in our schedule. So we're gonna take advantage of that.
Who are our students? What we have asked the teachers to do is to, and with our reading specialists and administration, to look at the data scores based on SOL scores, which is what the state first asked us to do. We were the students at risk, or the low proficient students based on the SOL scores, and then there was a different informational from our growth assessments in 3rd grade at the beginning of 3rd grade. Then we had our teachers who made recommendations based on formal and informal teacher analysis, and that's current. And so we also will have students participating that are falling in these categories with they must have parental permission. Our tutors we're lucky to have licensed teachers. They are current employees of WPPS, and they are content area experts.
So the hour, 45 minutes actually, that we're going to be using at the middle and high school level, after meeting with the English and math teachers in particular, we decided to take this opportunity to really look at our current practices and how we can improve upon them. So our students will be separated based on strand releases. We'll be giving some screeners after the holiday. Not only to the students who've been identified by growth scores and SOL scores, but for example, the entire 6th grade in English will be screened using IXL diagnostics. And so we will have a firm list, and so they will be divided not by grade level, but by strands within that subject area. We want to try something different. We want to really highly target those, and so that's how students will be divided by areas of weakness. So we're really excited to see how that will work, and it will be on the students' instructional level, not on their grade level, because as we know, these students, their remediation is based on their grade level, but this will be based on the instructional level on their screeners. So we can really target those gaps and get those closed.
In the elementary school, we find it's very beneficial for our students, and this is something too that the state had divisions consider. It's kind of like a station rotation, where students will have small group instruction with a direct teacher, and then they will have a rotation either to another teacher for a different content, or they will have enhanced instruction or further instruction through programs that you'll see in a minute that the state has approved. Again, it'll be based on strand weaknesses, and they will stay in their grade levels. So they will usually probably their grade level teachers and as content area experts. What it's not going to look like is not going to be work completion time, and it's not going to look like reteaching of what's currently going on in the Tier 1 instruction in the classroom. This is where we will be specifically targeting strand weaknesses and weaknesses in basic skills.
Okay, so this is the beginning. This is by no means complete or comprehensive, because we can add students, take students away. We have to have a starting place. So the chart that you see there, we have students who are identified as only needing reading, or only needing math, or we know they need both. So those are the current numbers that you see that we're going to start with. That's our jumping off point, so to speak. And again, as we get screeners, as we have conversations over students, take a look at mid-year growth testing, we can certainly add to those or take away. But that's currently where we stand as far as needs.
Among what we already know as good instructional programs, this is a list of programs that are that the state contributed and suggested that will also be utilized again when they're not getting direct instruction with the teachers, or if a student needs a little bit extra instruction in that certain content area, so they didn't need to go to reading, let's say. So that second half of that time period, they're going to be working on a math program to enhance what they learn in their small group instruction.
So the middle school, because this is really grades 6 through 8 as far as we're concerned right now, we really want to track the progress of our targeted instruction. So since we are screening them in Excel, we're going to use Excel progress monitor. And so we can track the growth within each strand. So they will use that at the beginning, and we'll take a check at the middle, and definitely at the end, see what kind of growth we were able to achieve for our students. Our thought is, and the teachers, I'm honestly really excited about it, if this model works well for these students, then why we would like to push it up. And let's start using it for all of our students. So we're kind of taking the opportunity not only to, just fulfill a requirement, no, we're taking the opportunity to really see what works and see what kind of instruction we can give to our students to close gaps.
In the elementary school, we are really fortunate that we already do assessments like PALS and DIBELS, and that is something that we will be doing like PALS and DIBELS again in January, so we'll get an update of their progress monitoring for all students. Our special education students do get progress monitored every 2 weeks. We are also relying on our teachers to do formal and informal summative assessments, benchmarks, other technological diagnostics for programs that they may be using or just knowing their students.
The practices of Dr. Hauser, so Harvard. But our the online tutoring program will be implemented over the next 3 years. So that's why some of the things that you saw were to be determined. There's a lot of flexibility. We don't want to lock ourselves in because we want to see what is working, be able to make those adjustments, and really hone this into what's working for our students. Like right now, we have a great group of teachers and some interventionists. So we're going to kind of see how it goes. Do we need more tutors? Do we need less tutors? The smaller the group, the better the effect that we'll have. So that's what we're really working. And we'd like to see this become a fluid group as well as we're looking at strands. There are some students at the middle and high school level, I can speak to that. They are weak in 1 or 2 strands, they need to come those days. They don't need to come on other days. We're looking for ways to get student and parent buy-in, that this doesn't look like an after-school remediation. It's highly targeted and intense. So we have a lot of flexibility, and we're doing a lot of monitoring even in our planning. What's going to happen next?
That is our program as it stands today on our all-in tutoring process, and we know that it is continually evolving, and we will shift as needed.
And I'm guessing you'll be sharing with us maybe every few months how it's going and.
Yes, because we want to know as well. I'm really wanting to see that progress monitoring, to see what kind of effect we're having. I think that's really important.
So, Dr. Freed, question. Do we know what the cost is going to be for us to implement this? If there is any additional costs, and if so, is the state offering any?
Right, and so.
How about that?
when the state amended, finally approved the budget, and I shared that budget number, I shared that a portion of the additional funds that we received from the state were for all men. And so we are receiving $275,763 from the state for this program, and these funds will be used for work review.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Britt, for, Ms. Shreve said, we'll be curious to see how it goes. I think, pretty sure somewhere in our strategic plan, we talk about innovating, so I think this is a great opportunity to innovate. So, it's nice to get money to do it, and looking forward to trying something different, right?
And also 10% of those funds will be used towards attendance. And so we'll also be updating the board at some point about what our efforts are to help with attendance.
Yeah, that's a challenge. Okay. All right. Anything else on all in? All right. You're all in. All right. Yeah, all in all three. All right. Next up, we've got a couple of reports. Mr. Walker, weapons detection update.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to take the opportunity to give you all an update on our rollout. As you can see, as you came in, our weapon scanners are up and working. We've had them going for the last few weeks, and so I just wanted to give you a little update from our training to our rollout and kind of where we are now, and then a little bit of future planning as we're planning for the elementary school. We started on November 28th with our training. A representative, a trainer from the Open Gate Company came to West Point High School, middle school, and trained our security staff, admin team, school board leadership, and really gave us a rundown on the system, how it works, obviously how to turn it on, from the basics to the nuisance alarms, to showing us to the app integration. We're using the app with the system, to showing us how we can change sensitivity settings, user levels of the users and how they can access that information. To then the next day on the 29th, we had our live rollout, and that's where obviously we had the trainer there on site to give us feedback, to kind of give us recommendations on a setting, talking about our process and layout, and kind of gave us that feedback as it was happening live. And I have to say, on the first day, we have to just commend our students and staff for just their cooperation with this, really being prepared as they enter our building, making sure that a lot of them, you can see that watched the video that had gone out and followed some of that information, and really arrived prepared. It took us about 30 minutes to screen all students and staff who came in the building, which did put us about 6 minutes past the TARD eval. As we said, we were expecting that, obviously in the first few days or so, just that bumpy road. But then as we took the time each morning to debrief as a team, to talk about our operations, and really kind of change things as we went, that time came down. And since then, we have been either right at the TARD eval or before finishing. Obviously, some factors play into that, such as buses coming in maybe a little later, an influx of student car riders coming in at a later time. And it puts us closer to that TARD eval, but our process has gotten smoother as we continue to go through this. And again, just to talk about just kind of the debriefing and the adjustments, we've moved team members around on our team to make sure that we're more efficient. We have had bus drivers actually do some prepping on the buses before they get off the bus and come into the building to help prep students to be prepared. And so all these team efforts have really made the process smoother. This week, we rolled out our weapon scanners for our basketball game on Monday. We also had them out for the concert last night. We'll have them again tonight, and as you can see for our meeting this evening. And so that has been a success. And again, just one of those things where as the rollout's coming out, we're also learning. And so some of you may have seen the basketball game, some of you were there. We had them down in the gym lobby. The process of screening went great, but it was just a tight space. And so you'll see Friday night for the basketball game, we are going to make an adjustment of location, having our scanners here at the main entrance, and having those fans and spectators come through and then make their way down to the gym lobby this way to give us space for screening and making sure that we're not, kind of messing up, again, congestion down there by the concession stand and things like that. Planning for future for the elementary school, we are planning for a January rollout for the elementary school. We are currently still communicating with the company to coordinate training, because the training only occurred here for the high school, middle school staff, and we want to make sure that we have that training for our elementary staff members as well. And so we are still working with them on solidifying a date, but we really would like to be right around that second semester start time, and that's what we're working with them to try to identify a date for that. Any questions?
Mr. Walker has done a phenomenal job leading this, with the support of Mr. Beach. They've been a strong team. We were able to roll this out with evening activities. We were able to utilize some of our other part-time employees to get them trained to help support the administrative team. If you were at the concert last night, I think you noticed that it went really well. So we're pleased with everything that we've done, and we have not gotten much negative feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Dr. Shreves, an update on the VSBA conference last month.
Okay, I will not take long, I promise. It was a good conference. I felt, for me, it was the first time I had attended that the governor actually showed up and talked to us. And I really appreciated that our governor would take time to do that, because I don't think that's a real normal thing. He was heckled. I'm being very candid. He got a little heckled from some educational people in his audience about learning loss. But he did talk a lot about truancy and mental health, fentanyl, all the things that you would have expected the governor to speak to, the things that are important to us in the educational system. The second session I went to was that was pretty heartening. The second session I went to was pretty disheartening, but you'll understand when I get into it, because it was really about the number of, the drastic increase in lawsuits in the last few years in Virginia public schools. And just to give you some numbers that the gentleman shared, there are 200 plus lawsuits this year, 2023, up 100 from 10 years ago. So in 2013, there were 100 cases in our school systems. There are well over 200 for 2023. So this kind of speaks to our more litigious society that we're living in and some societal issues that we have. Title IX was a big target, and he told us that in 2000 there was a case that was $1 million, and that was the biggest case that the state of Virginia had ever seen, that $1 million case. Now, in 2023, there are 225 cases, and 2.4 million was the more recent, the most recent number that he gave us. And I just thought that was really sad and really interesting. He talked about the divisive politics and discrimination and things like that. He said that the hardest thing now is that many cases are tried on social media before they ever get to, the attorney. He said he had dealt with a case in the last year that the school system called well after things had happened, and it was all over Facebook, and it was, it had already been tried. So he said that was very, very difficult to deal with. But I just thought that was a really interesting. He said political climate is clearly the driver. That was, like I said, that was pretty disheartening, that one. He gave a lot of good information, but that was pretty disheartening. The next session that I had an opportunity to attend was about about building the teacher pipeline. This is nothing that y'all don't already know about, and I mean, this is just, it was good information, but it was a lot that our school system is already doing. They did share that there's a 10% drop in fully licensed teachers in the last few years, and just talked about potential solutions. And I won't talk through all of those, but I thought they gave good solutions, but some of those solutions are things our school system is already trying to do. And they did talk at length about strong mentoring and coaching for new teachers. And I know we already know about that, and that's something that we take time to do. And talked about facilitating retirees to return to the class. And I know that we have a lot of great retirees, but I think a lot of them are really ready to be retired. So anyway, there was a lot of talk about streamlining the teacher accreditation and changing the accreditation process in the state of Virginia. There was a lot of talk about that. I'm not saying there was any change. It was just a lot of conversation about that in that particular session. A couple of things just to mention. The requests for ideas for legislation have to be sent in by May. We all probably know that, but that's just my little reminder to all of us that we need to, if we have ideas about things that we think our state needs to change, that by May we have to have that in. I went to another leadership one, but I'll just end with this because I promised I would not take long. I went to the last session I attended after our voting session was one on building powerful school system and city relationships, and I think that's something that our school system and our town have done a really terrific job on. I was, however, surprised and delighted by what I heard about Hampton schools, and I shared this with Dr. Frazier. They have done just some outstanding work on Hampton schools, and their kind of tagline is every child, every day, whatever it takes. And I thought, well, that kind of sounds like West Point. But I think one of the things that stood out to me that Hampton had done, they have like a one-pager that is a portrait of a Hampton graduate, and I thought that was really appealing and something we might want to consider here. It was really, I think one of the things that I learned in that session was that about 20 years ago, the city of Hampton decided on funding for their schools, and they said of all residential related taxes, and I'm sure there are other taxes as well, that they would fund the schools 61.83%. And I just thought, wow, I had no idea that Hampton had done that. We are unlike so many school systems because the town gives us so much, and we are so fortunate. But I was really happy to hear that about Hampton, and it was really enlightening and encouraging to see all that they've done in their school system. So, just a few things from that time at VSBA.
Thank you, Ms. Reese, not only for the update, but for taking the time to go. Okay, next up, items under study. Mr. Leach, program of study.
All right. Want to be official and have a microphone tonight? So if you remember last year, we came to you in January with our program studies. And when we did that, our executive summary was about 3.5 pages. So we got that down to about 1.5 pages. So I want to thank the team that worked with me, which was the counselor, Ms. Rush and Ms. Powell, our admin team here at Middle School High School, Ms. Bird, Ms. Ball, and Ms. Saunders, and then the SBO staff, including Dr. Hauser and Ms. Roach. So again, as we go through, I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I will highlight just a few things. We did add the assistant principals and the counselors to the list. They're often on the front lines of any schedule changes, working with parents, working with students to discuss what their classes may look like, so we added them to the list. In the past, only the principals and Dr. Frazier were added on that date. Looking ahead, we also added a disclaimer to the middle school scheduling, the high school scheduling, and then into the DE section that even though the courses are in the program studies, doesn't mean we're always going to be able to offer them. And as you know, a lot of that relies on our teacher availability, the licensure, student interest, but we felt it was important to leave them in there because we really don't know what's going to happen with a lot of our staffing at this point. If people were to leave or come in with different license opportunities, we want to make sure that they're in there. And also to know that this is a draft, so not looking for any action tonight. This will come back in January as you study it, but there may be edits coming down the road in January, February if we are hiring new teachers and we need to add new classes. We would definitely bring that to the board prior to. Looking at the middle school scheduling, this is probably where we had some bigger changes. Currently, we offer a 4-9-week rotation of exploratory classes, which would include art, technology, career investigations, and academic seminar. And the academic seminar class is a lot of time management, organization, and things like that. And we realized that by the time the fourth quarter gets around, those students who are in that class probably could have benefited from that at the very beginning. So what the team has talked about is moving that back down to 3 rotations, which is what we did for years and years. We probably just changed this about 4 years ago, and including academic seminar as part of one of those rotations at the very beginning. So all the 6th grade students would get that for like the first 3 weeks, but that would all be time management, organization, getting around the school, learning the different staff, and then they would go into 3 11-week rotations of art, technology, and career investigations. So there are benefits to that, and the team was excited that they could get all the needs met, or most of the needs met for those students at the beginning of the year, and not wait until the fourth quarter to talk to some of those students in academic seminar. Something else that the team felt strongly about, if you recall, it was probably 4 years ago, I think maybe the senior class now, the decision was made at that time to put 8th grade PE as an elective. And the hope is that we will now make that a required course for all 8th grade students to take PE. I think at the time, and I don't know that I can recall the exact decision process for why it was changed, it was a large class, and trying to have 80 or 90 students in that one block of PE proved difficult. So what we want to do now is go back to having 8th grade as a required course, and that will allow a lot of different options for our scheduling, because we realized those students that didn't take it, we had to find somewhere to put them, and then that impacted a whole chunk of the schedule. So we think if we, between the academic seminar being kind of spread out into the other 3 classes, and the 8th grade being a requirement, we then can open up some different electives because we have some more opportunities within our schedule. Something else that's going to change, and this is based on the state, is that world geography would now be the 8th grade class. So currently we do world history 1, so we basically flopped those. So next year 8th grade would take world geography, and then the 9th grade course would be world history 1. They would have world history 2 as an honors class once they get through world history 1 in 10th grade, and then they would still continue out with US history and then government in 12th grade. So again, that's a minor change. I don't think that's going to make a huge difference, but just so as 8th graders come along, they will go to world geography and then world history 1. Any questions on that information? So that was kind of the bulk of the changes. I have a few more things, but I know that was a big chunk. Okay. Some of the other big things were just verbiage, just adjusting some things, adjusting dates, again, from 23-24 to 24-25. Looking at, if you reviewed it, you'll see in the 4 areas we added a graphic. So it's a course sequence, so it's more like a picture. That is a typical or a potential course outline, but it's not going to be for everyone. But we figured the visual would help students and parents as they start to see that process. We did remove Algebra 1 Part 1 and Algebra 1 Part 2. That was a course we added in at the end of COVID, and realized now that our Algebra 1 classes are a little smaller, they're kind of caught up, so we didn't need that process. While other classes we kept in because of not knowing what our teachers are going to look like and what their licensure is going to look like, we felt confident we could pull that one out because we wouldn't need it. And then looking at when we get to CTE, I mentioned the academic seminar class, because that's where that is for middle school. We also talked about making an adjustment with the 7th grade exploratory. Right now, it's listed as inventions and innovations, or innovations and inventions, and we wanted to change that to make it your business, which is more like an entrepreneurship class, because then that feeds into more of our business classes with Ms. Gay. We're hoping to offer an entrepreneurship class next year, so that will kind of spark that interest, so then that leads into those students taking some more of those CTE classes. We also talked about adding intro to drama, and that was very prevalent after attending the theater program the other day for the elementary school. Those kids were eating that up, and it was pretty awesome. So we thought adding that in, again, because that builds into a lot of our classes. And then what that would do is they would not take art back-to-back years, and then free Ms. McNeil up to do another elective, because that's usually a pretty popular class for students getting their major as well. So just adding some additional things. Art was the only class we had back-to-back years that was a requirement, but now offering them some additional classes that could spark some interest or what they might want to take in high school. And the other classes we added, which were very popular this year, we added sports medicine 2 and aerospace technology 2. Both those were in their first year this year, and we added that sequential elective for students to take next year and get that completed. So again, no action tonight, that's just for your review, but we would like to take that as an action item in January so that they can start their scheduling. We also did do the staff did do a survey of different classes, and it was interesting that the class the students most want to take is home ec. So we're looking to see what we can do to make that happen. Sports medicine was very popular. A lot of science classes as electives were very popular. Astronomy, tech, forensic science. So we're hoping that maybe we can find some flexibility in our schedule, or with any new hires, that we can meet those students' needs and really pique that interest if they're already interested in it, that we can offer some of those different elective classes. And that's the program studies. Any questions?
Home ec. Good.
Yeah.
I love home
Well, I think we may have a teacher that's interested, so we'll just have to see how that pans out. And then see how many of those 72 actually sign up when they realize they're cooking and cleaning and sewing. Yes, I'm sure a lot of parents will appreciate that as well. But thank you.
Schools still offer home ec?
Some it's family and consumer science.
Yeah, okay, there's that branch.
Yeah.
Family and consumer science.
I think it's a dying breed, but I imagine that just like most things will come back in a cycle.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that we had such a large percentage of students that were interested in that.
That's good. Life skills, right?
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. And next up, board meeting norms. So Ms. Sturts reached out to me earlier this month with some concerns about, I guess, perceived lack of transparency on how I voted last month. I wanted to just talk a little bit about norms from a meeting standpoint. I think we'd also discuss board norms with Dr. Gorman or Dr. Baker both. So I think we kind of touched on it, we've never really followed up, but we can get that on the agenda. And Ms. Sturts, if you want to elaborate.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so last meeting, I was thrown off a little bit. We were talking about the model policy, and kind of made a quiet comment like, oh, it seems like the same, or it doesn't seem much different, and then we go to vote, and then there was a no vote. And I think that the sake of transparency to everybody who's listening and to understand where we all stand as individuals, perhaps a little bit more detail could have been given. And I do my best to express why I believe what I believe, why I don't want to vote for something, why I do want to vote for something. Even if people disagree with me, they at least know where I stand, and I think that that's what the people want to know. So I know me personally, I was thrown aback, and I was like, well, it would have been nice to have in the discussion section of that process a more clear understanding that you were going to vote no because of X, Y, and Z. So you're entitled to vote no, but I just was a little thrown off that there wasn't that actual good conversation explained it more explicitly. So I just think that we as a board, all of us, if we're gonna vote yes or no or whatever, if we feel strongly in one way that we're gonna be voting according to that, I think that we owe it to our people that have put us here in this office to explain that to them. So that's one of them. The other thing that I wanted to see us do, I know New Kent, well, at least they used to, I haven't watched any recent meetings, but the superintendent there, after someone comes and brings a concern to the board or addresses something to superintendent or the board members, the next meeting or once they have a follow-up, they out loud at the meeting say, hey, I followed up on this person's concern and this is what we did about it, or this is what the conclusion was, or whatever it was. And it just brings, again, a level of transparency to the people. While we might be addressing things behind the scenes, if people are watching meetings, they come to meetings and they hear something, but then they don't actually hear what the resolution was for it, or maybe there is no resolution for it, but we still owe them that explanation, like, hey, we heard the concern, however, that's not going to work because of this, or we can't fix it because of that, or we disagree with your stand, whatever it is. I just think that we need to do a better job at communicating to everybody out there those things. That's all.
Thank you, Sturz. Comments or questions?
This would be a good opportunity to express to the people out there where you stand, if you agree with me or disagree or have a different opinion. Like, this is what I'm talking about, the conversation. Like, we should be talking. I've raised a concern, I've raised a request, so this would be an opportunity to.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I think the request as a whole is valid, especially as it relates to delegation and following up. I think it is something that, as a board, we need to determine what the best way to handle that is, first, whether it's following up directly with an individual or whether it's following up as a whole at a subsequent meeting. But I think to your point, following up versus just leaving it hanging there is a valid concern.
Well, and that's my point. I think it needs to be done at the meeting. If a concern is raised publicly, then, and it's something that's like a personnel, something that's a confidential matter, then I think we should address it then publicly. So in particular, young lady addressed concerns about funding for the golf team. I think that resolution, that information that came about to follow up on what she was concerned about should have been then expressed publicly. Like, hey, we looked into this, she had a concern, we looked into it because we care about the concerns of the people, and this is what the conclusion was. So yes, we should follow up with people individually, but I think in a lot of matters, it also should be addressed publicly because, a number of people are like, hey, well, what happened with the golf team thing? So that's on that side of it.
Dr. Fraser, when delegations come before you, do you have a process that you follow up for?
Yeah, so we're always going to look into those concerns when they're brought to us, and then we will follow up with the individuals. The concern that I have with some of the follow up in the meeting is I never want it to be a situation where if things may not, from our investigation, if the outcome is not the way that it was necessarily presented, I then don't want it to be said in the community, well, the administration said we were lying. The administration said that what we believe to be true is not true. Those relationships that we have with the public and with our school community, I think those relationships are important. And I don't want to necessarily be in a meeting and necessarily have all of that discussion. But that's my opinion. But I also will do the desire for.
I think that by not addressing them, Facebook, Women in West Point, West Point Women Speak. All of these groups, they're all talking about stuff, and they're raising concerns, and they're asking about things that happen at meetings, at schools, etc. If we have a definitive answer that then can lay people's worries to rest, if it's the truth, if it's the facts, then that's what we should be laying out for them. So for me, it's not, you're not gonna have a back and forth with people. It's like, hey, last meeting or 2 meetings ago, a person had a concern about the golf team. I looked into it and I spoke with these people, and this was what we determined. I think that just gives people peace of mind and knows that you, us, whomever is responding to the concerns that people have. If it's a public forum and someone's addressing a concern publicly, I think that the resolution to that concern should also be public. If someone addresses you privately and you look into something for them, then that's a private concern, but it's already out on the internet. It's already out there that there's this concern, and I think it only does us a disservice to not address it in the same manner to which it was presented to us. As long as it's not like confidential material.
I think my struggle is the same one that Dr. Frazier spoke to. There are times when people have gotten up since I've been on the board that what they said or believed was actually untrue. And to call them out publicly would be horrible. I wouldn't want anybody to do that to me if I didn't have my facts straight. I would not want to be called out publicly. I would want to have that discussion privately with Dr. Frazier.
Well, I'm talking about specific, like, that was a specific thing regarding funding for a team at our school. I'm not talking about someone with maybe an ideological belief or whatever, or you could express it in more general terms, like someone comes up with a concern about curriculum we are not, maybe we are or we're not teaching. Then you can say, hey, just so you know, you can reference this, and this is the curriculum we use. It could be a very general thing. But if people are getting up at the podium and they're saying something that isn't true, and it's something that is concerned that now the whole community is going to have, then yes, we should tell them that's not true. Like if the school is being accused of something, teaching something they're not teaching, or not teaching something they should be teaching, like, yeah, we should address that. That's what we're here for. I don't think you should say Bob Smith's a liar. Like, I don't think that's how you handle it. But you address the concern, the facts that they raise, and if they're incorrect and if they're harmful to the school system, if they give us, the impression that we do or don't do something that we should be doing or not doing, then we need to address that. And in the case with the golf team, like, that was an easy thing. Like, hey, we looked into it, and this is what the situation was, and this is how it was handled, and that's the end of it. But that's just one half of my concern. My other half of my concern is our discussion here before we vote for things. So that's the other part of it, so don't forget that.
I guess I'll just touch on it one more time. Again, as it relates to delegations, I think somebody bringing concern is it does justify having a response to them. But for me to say that I could be in support of a blanket position that we're going to publicly respond to each delegation in a public response, I don't know that I can sign up for that. Because in the same token, I'm also listening to kids come up here and speak. They're in middle school, they're raising concern. I don't want to dishearten a child out of that situation, come to me and voice their concern. But that's just one example why I wouldn't want to make it into a blanket position. I hear your concern. I think it's a valid concern to put more effort into addressing these delegations and responses to them. But I don't know that I can blanket say that we're going to publicly respond to each one each time.
As far as the follow-ups, when they come to the podium, I've had citizens come to me afterwards, and if I can't fix it, or I'll address it to Dr. Frazier. But I have addressed the follow-up. They don't come back for the follow-up.
Yeah, we're on the internet. Right. So just because that particular person doesn't come to the next meeting, well, first of all, we're not doing follow-up at the next meeting. So why would anybody come to hear a follow-up when that's not something we're doing currently? The second thing is, it's on the internet. They don't have to be here in person. to hear the follow-up, and that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that have heard the concern and now have questions about it. I guess I'm a little bit forward that this is an issue. Someone raises concern about funds for a sports team, which is the reason why this came up for me. I'm like, well, you know, New Kent does it, their superintendent does it, so maybe you can watch the videos and see how he does it. He addresses those concerns at the beginning of the, beginning of the meeting. He says, hey, I just want to follow up on this thing that was brought up at this meeting. He follows up, and then they move on to the rest of the meeting. I don't know why being transparent and honest and just saying what the follow-up was on things, concerns that people have raised is an issue that is debated, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit forward with that. I actually am expecting more pushback from the first thing I said, which maybe this is the pushback, is y'all are commenting on it. But I think us commenting on what people have raised concerns is our duty as elected officials here. And as the superintendent of the schools, I think it's important that he be the one that speaks to concerns. And I'm very much aware that Dr. Frazier addresses concerns with people individually. So that's not what I'm referring to. But perhaps we wouldn't have to address all the concerns privately, us as board members, if we were addressing them publicly. People will then hear them as a body.
Yeah, I think it's a difference of optics on what's occurring versus the role for me. Like, it's not our job to tell everyone how to fix problems or what we're doing as a board. I think, could we improve, or could we have structure around how Dr. Frazier manages them and communicates back to us? Maybe. But I don't see it's a board's responsibility to comment on everything that people may just make a public comment versus an ask. Like, if someone comes to us with a request, we're not going to do it, right? We're going to follow the chain of command and push them back to either the superintendent or the building level or the teacher, wherever that needs to be solved versus us solving the problem.
I wasn't talking about us solving anything. I wasn't even talking about us being the ones communicating it. I was saying that once there's matters been looked into, that Dr. Frazier, just like the superintendent New Kent, beginning of the meeting says, hey, this was already raised at the last meeting about the golf team. I looked into it. I spoke to these people. I looked at what happened with the money that was raised, et cetera, and then reports it out. I'm not talking about us doing anything. I'm talking about, what we're doing, what we have to do, what our role is to say, Dr. Frazier, we would like for you to report out these things at the meeting. That's why we're discussing it. I'm not saying that we should be personally finding solutions to the problems, although that is sometimes part of our role as well. And sometimes it is part of our role to report out to the community as elected officials. I'm saying it would be nice, and I think the community would appreciate it, if when things are raised, like the one last meeting, if they then get publicly discussed as far as what the outcome was of that. Because the accusation that was made was pretty concerning to me in the moment, and I'm sure that everybody who heard that was like, whoa, that's not a good thing. So yeah, I think it's important for our school system and for our people to hear that, like, okay, well, this was the situation, we looked into it, yada, yada, yada. I'm still at a loss as to why this is something we don't want to do. It is building relationship and trust. It is showing the people that we are listening to their concerns. We are addressing problems that happen. Some things have to be confidential. Some things don't happen in a month. So some things might not be reported out right away. But that is what we should be doing. When we don't do those things, when public bodies, when elected officials don't do those things, that's when the public gets mad. That's when the public loses trust in them, and that's when the public starts coming to meetings, speaking out like I did the last few years. because we didn't have a transparent board, we didn't have a transparent superintendent then. A lot of shady things happened, a lot of not talking to the community. So if we want to avoid that, you don't want to have people at the podium angry at you, then this is one of the things that we should be doing. We should be transparent communicating with them. That's my piece.
So the board has discussed, a work session to discuss some norms. So we can have further conversation about this if we want to schedule something for January or February. And we can have some more discussion about what those norms are for board members and then what some of those expectations might be for the leadership. So we are comfortable with scheduling a work session to.
Sure. All right, action items are expenditures and revenue. A motion to receive our expenditures and receive our revenue reports. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We also have our cafeteria expenditures. Have a motion to approve our cafeteria expenditures. Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Personnel, Dr. Frazier.
I would ask that we pull personnel to closed session.
All right. We have a motion to move personnel to close.
So moved.
We have a motion, by second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We will have personnel closed. We have, donation. We have a motion to accept the donation.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Informational items.
So in your package, you do have our regular informational items. I would like to highlight that there also is a calendar survey that was included in the packet. It would be it's the desire of the leadership team to send out the calendar survey in January, so we can collect data, get input from our community members and stakeholders, as we look to develop a calendar for next school year. Is there any against that? Right. Also, for board information, we did receive the security grant from the state, and so we did receive $23,000. We originally applied for 94,000. We got 23. So we're still excited. We're still happy. So that $23,000 will go to offset some of the safety enhancements that we've done to our school facilities. That's all right, Mr. Chair.
All right. We have a motion to move to close. Oh, delegations, yeah. The delegation. That's right. Yes, ma'am. Motion. No.
Motion to move to closed session pursuant to section 2.2, 47.1, section A, number 1, of the Code of Virginia as amended. I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following specific matters, personnel matters. Resignations, appointments,
we have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Move to close.